Greetings, this is Stephanie Willis, author of Help, I Need a Reboot. The website is ineedareboot.com. I'm here to talk today about what reboot is and the framework that I built it upon. Before I get started with that, I would like to talk a little bit about how the writing came to be. Back in 2014, I would say, it was a time when my soul was undergoing a change. I was working in corporate, a single parent of two, and at that point I was ready for something different. I had been ready for something different long before then, but I think in 2014 I was at the breaking point of, if I don't get some change, I am just going to go nuts. And so my soul started to undergo a transformation. I really don't feel like I was in control of it. It was happening on its own. And the only thing I could do was get on board or be miserable, because to not get on board, to avoid the longings and the deepest desires of my soul, was to be riddled with anxiety and feelings of discontent and dissatisfaction. So that was the beginning, and I wasn't quite prepared for what came after it, but I will say in hindsight it was a wonderful experience, albeit a very challenging one. So the reboot framework, I would say, is built on 5 pillars, and I base that on the experience that I had with rediscovering who I was and rebuilding my life based on those truths. The first pillar for the reboot framework is identity. And in identity, for myself, I needed to define who I was. I needed to really understand who I was beyond what I had become up until that point. So I had to think about how I arrived at this person that I am today, of course, at that time, and ask myself, do I like this person? Do I like what I've become? Do I like the life that I'm living? Do I know who I am? And so identity kind of takes you through the process of really figuring out who you are. Your identity is made up of everything that you have learned up until now. The things that you've learned in your family, growing up, from your peers at school, from your teachers, in church, from your religion, all of the different impressions that have been impressed upon you in life have shaped your identity, good or bad. It doesn't matter how you perceive it. It's just, this is what it is. The second pillar is stripping. Stripping was about taking it all off, identifying all of what we just talked about in identity, and taking off all of those things that you have added to yourself or that have been added to you to make this person that you are. So once you identify all of the different ways that you see yourself, you may see yourself as a mother, as a sister, as an employee, as a speaker, as an author, as a coach, or what have you. But the idea behind stripping is to strip everything away, strip away your status, strip away your finances, just kind of symbolically strip it all away, and really take a good look at yourself and ask yourself, do I know who I am? And is this a person that I want to be? Or should I be aiming for something different or something better? Am I happy with what I see? Self-reflection is the third pillar, and that follows stripping. Self-reflection is when you stand in the mirror symbolically and look at yourself and ask yourself those questions. Who am I? Do I like who I am? Is there something that I need to change? Self-reflection also forces you to take a look at the mirrors in your life. And ironically, your employment option, your career, your job, whatever it is that you do for a living, that is a reflection of who you are or who you perceive yourself to be or what you believe about yourself. Whether you decided to go to college or not, it's not a good thing or a bad thing, it just is. but it is definitely a reflection of how you perceive yourself, even if what you perceive about yourself came from other people, but that you will find out in identity when you walk through the course. Self-reflection is also established, or you're able to identify a little bit more about who you are through your relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship or a familial relationship or a friendship. You can look at those different relationships again and ask yourself, are these relationships that serve me well? Are these harmonious relationships? Are these inspirational relationships? Are they relationships that are beneficial to both parties? The next pillar is self-discovery. Once you've done all of that examining and analyzing, and once you've made those observations, you begin to see yourself and maybe identify some things you'd like to change. Self-discovery is that space where you start to really get to know yourself. You get to know the person that you probably never knew. I remember thinking to myself that I just met Stephanie. I remember feeling the weight lifted of all of the faulty beliefs that I held about myself previously and up until that point. So this process was really, really, really useful for me. I was under a lot of stress and I think oppressed by thoughts of unworthiness, but that came from parts of my upbringing. And we'll talk about that later as we dig into the different sections. I will relate to all of you some of the experiences that I had that led me to the point that I was at, but also led me to write the book, but also led me to learn how to get out from under that baggage. I'm going to call it baggage because that's what it is. Or you can call it limiting beliefs or faulty belief systems. The last pillar is self-creation. So after you have taken the time to discover yourself and discover what you like and what makes you happy, what brings you joy, what you'd rather be doing, what you like to do, what kind of hobbies you may like to have, or depending on where you are in your life cycle, you may be a young parent or you may be an empty nester, but self-discovery gave you an opportunity to discover who you are. Self-creation gives you the opportunity to recreate yourself, to redefine yourself, to redevelop yourself, to take up a new career, start a new hobby, start a new business, whatever it is that you desire to do most. You may want to write a book. You might want to start a podcast. Self-creation is sort of a process that helps you get there. And so what I would like to say is Help, I Need a Reboot, the name of the book. It's a starting point. It took me 12 months or more, maybe closer to 2 years, to really complete the cycle. It took time for me to get through the identity part. It took time for me to get through the self-discovery part. And part of it was because I needed to almost undo or unlearn everything that I had ever learned and relearn new truths about myself and about life and about who I was and who I wanted to be and what I was capable of. So the process is amazing. You will become a new person. You will love the person that you become, and you will be excited to enter into the next phase in life. It's like a brand new chapter. So I hope that you will join me on this journey. My journey is still happening because I am in the self-creation phase. And I don't think that self-creation ever has to end, because you'll be creating new aspects of you and creating new realities for yourself. And that does not ever have to end. And I hope that this process really helps you to redefine who you are and to create a life for yourself that you can really, really, truly enjoy, where you can feel like you're leaving a legacy and that you've completed all of those things that you wanted to do. So thank you for joining me on this audio. Again, this is Stephanie with ineedareboot.com, If you get a chance, pop on over to Amazon and look for the book, Help, I Need a Reboot, and I'll see you next time.